I hope you will open your heart so the child within you can hear these words. You were never too much. You were never too sensitive. You did not have to become perfect in order to deserve love. And you were not responsible for carrying what the adults around you had not yet learned to heal. Perhaps you waited throughout childhood for someone to say, "This was not your fault." Perhaps you needed to hear, "Your feelings matter. You may make mistakes," or simply, "I am here and I am not leaving you alone with this." But the words did not come. So a younger part of you continued searching for them through relationships, achievement, approval, and the exhausting effort to keep everyone pleased. You may have hoped that if you became useful enough, attractive enough, successful enough, or easy enough to love, someone would finally give you the safety you missed. And when they did not, you may have concluded that you still had not tried hard enough. My dear one, a child should never have to earn the right to feel safe. The inner child is not another physical person living inside you. It is a gentle name for the emotional memories, unmet needs, fears, and conclusions formed while you were young. These patterns do not arise only during the first 7 years, nor does childhood explain every difficulty in adult life. Human beings are shaped by many things: temperament, biology, later experiences, relationships, culture, and present circumstances. Yet early experiences can strongly influence what love, danger, belonging, and self-worth come to mean. You cannot travel backward and receive a different childhood. You cannot make an unavailable parent become the person you needed then. But you can stop continuing their absence within yourself. You can stop speaking to yourself with the same coldness, disbelief, or impatience that once caused pain. Healing begins with this truth: I am no longer the powerless child I once was. I am the adult who can listen to, protect, and love the young part within me. The inner child does not appear only when you deliberately remember the past. You may recognize it in a present reaction that feels much larger than the event in front of you. A message is unanswered for a few hours, and your mind becomes certain that you are about to be abandoned. A small correction at work does not feel like information. It feels like proof that your entire being is inadequate. You may say yes while every part of you wants to say no, because you once learned that being obedient preserved affection. You may attempt to control every detail because unpredictability once felt dangerous. Rest may create guilt if your value was connected to achievement. Expressing a need may feel shameful if you were treated as a burden whenever you required attention. Perhaps you are repeatedly drawn to distant people and then work very hard to win their love. Their distance may be painful, but it is also familiar. Some part of you recognizes the old task. If I can finally make an unavailable person choose me, perhaps I can repair the original wound. Even joy may feel unsafe. When something good occurs, you begin waiting for its disappearance. If happiness was often interrupted, withdrawn, or followed by conflict, vigilance may seem more protective than enjoyment. These reactions do not prove that you are weak or broken. They may show that a younger part is using an old strategy to create safety in a new situation. The strategy was formed when you had fewer choices. It may not yet know that your life has changed. Instead of asking with frustration, "Why am I like this?" ask, "Which part of me is frightened? And what does it believe is about to happen?" Perhaps it believes silence means abandonment, disagreement means rejection, mistakes mean humiliation, or rest means worthlessness. When you discover the prediction beneath the reaction, you can respond to the frightened part rather than allowing it to direct the entire situation. Say, "I see why this feels familiar, but we do not yet know what this silence means." Or, "This feedback is about one piece of work. It is not a judgment of our right to exist." You are bringing the adult mind into a place that was once governed only by a child's limited understanding. Trauma is not defined only by what happened. A difficult experience may leave a deep mark when you were too young, too alone, or without enough support to understand and process it. Two people can pass through similar events and carry different effects because their resources, relationships, and circumstances were different. These effects may appear as memories, beliefs, avoidance, physical tension, or a sense of danger when the present resembles something from the past. This does not mean that every pain is stored in the body, that every illness comes from childhood, or that every adult problem can be solved through inner child work. Healing has many paths, and some experiences are best approached with qualified professional support. The important thing is to recognize when the mind and body are responding to an old event as though it is happening now. In such a moment, you do not need to force yourself to forget. You need to help the frightened part distinguish then from now. Look around the room. Name where you are. Feel the surface beneath your feet. Notice the date, your present age, and the choices available to you. Then say, "That happened to me, but it is not happening in this moment. I am here now. I have a voice. I can leave, ask for help, set a limit, and choose support." When you feel ready, create a quiet meeting with the child you once were. You might hold a childhood photograph if doing so feels safe. Look at the face without immediately analyzing it. Notice the eyes, posture, clothing, and expression. Remember that this child had an inner life far larger than the adults around them may have understood. If you do not have a photograph, close your eyes and remember a familiar room, schoolyard, home, or path. Do not force the mind to uncover painful details. You are not digging for proof. Approach only what your inner world is willing to reveal. Imagine the younger you standing at a comfortable distance. Before asking anything, observe. Is the child looking at you? Are they hiding, standing very still, or waiting to see whether you are safe? Notice what happens in your body as you look at them. Tenderness, grief, anger, numbness, or resistance may arise. All of these responses are allowed. Do not interrogate the child. Listen. Ask one question at a time. How did you feel living here? Wait. What frightened you? Wait again. When you were sad, whom did you wish you could run to? You may ask, did something happen that nobody believed? Or who did you have to become in order to be loved? Then ask, what did you always want to do but were not permitted to do? Perhaps the child wanted to play, speak, cry, rest, create, or simply take up space without being corrected. Finally ask, what do you need me to know today? The answer may not come through words. A memory may appear. Your throat may tighten. You may feel tears, anger, or an urge to look away. Do not rush to explain. Say, I notice this. I am listening. You do not have to tell me more than you are ready to share. If the practice becomes overwhelming, open your eyes. Look around the present room. Feel your feet. Touch something with a clear texture. Remind yourself of your age and location. You may stop at any time. Healing does not require you to push beyond what you can safely hold today. Your first task is not to repair the whole past. It is to become a trustworthy presence now. And once the child begins to sense that you are truly listening, you can finally offer the words they waited so long to hear. I want to share something very personal with you before we continue. Sometimes the words that change us most are not new words at all. They are the words we should have heard long ago. They arrive late, perhaps decades late, yet some tender place within us still recognizes them. It says, "Yes, that is what I was waiting for." And when those words are followed by loving action, they can begin changing the way we live today. The first words your inner child may need are, "I see you." Some children are never physically abandoned. They are fed, clothed, taken to school, and cared for in practical ways. Yet emotionally, no one truly sees them. No one asks what frightens them, what makes them happy, what they are trying to understand, or why their behavior has changed. Adults may be present in the room while the child remains alone with everything happening inside. A child who is not emotionally seen may learn to make feelings louder in order to receive attention or to hide them completely because attention never comes. As an adult, you may believe that pain must become unbearable before you are allowed to ask for support. You may minimize your own experience. It was not that bad. Other people had it worse. I should be over this. Look at the younger you and say, "I see you. Your feelings have meaning. Your pain does not have to become greater before you deserve to be heard." You are not telling the child that every feeling is a complete interpretation of reality. You are saying that their inner experience matters enough to be acknowledged. A child does not need every fear confirmed. They need someone willing to listen without ridicule. Ask, "What have you been trying to show me?" Perhaps the answer is fatigue, loneliness, anger, fear, or the need to be comforted. Do not correct the answer. Say, "I understand why this matters to you. I am here now." The next words are, "It was not your fault." Children naturally place themselves at the center of events because they do not yet have the perspective to understand adult limitations. When a parent becomes angry, distant, depressed, addicted, unpredictable, or unavailable, a child may conclude, "I caused this. I was not good enough. If I behave better, perhaps everything will become safe." The child then begins accepting a responsibility no child could fulfill, healing the adults around them. They become the peacemaker, the high achiever, the entertainer, the quiet one, or the little caretaker who never asks for much. They believe family stability rests upon their ability to perform the correct role. Say gently, "You did not cause the limitations of the adults around you. You were not responsible for healing them. What happened does not prove that you were unworthy of love." This does not mean that children never make mistakes or require guidance. It means a child is not responsible for an adult's emotional immaturity, cruelty, addiction, neglect, or inability to provide safety. The adult's behavior belongs to the adult. If you still carry guilt, imagine returning the responsibility to where it belongs. You are not returning it with hatred. You are simply taking an impossible weight off a child's shoulders. Say, "You may put this down now. It was never yours to carry." The next words are, "You do not have to earn love by becoming perfect." Many children create an invisible contract with life. If I am good enough, useful enough, quiet enough, successful enough, or pleasing enough, I will be kept. This contract can follow you into adulthood. You may overwork, overgive, and overperform while secretly hoping that excellence will protect you from rejection. But perfection does not create secure love. It creates exhaustion and fear of being discovered as human. Even when you achieve, relief is brief because another test immediately appears. The mind asks, "What must I do next so no one changes their mind about me?" Tell the child, "You are loved because you exist. You are allowed to make mistakes, learn, play, and have needs of your own. You do not have to perform for your place in my heart." Notice how the child responds. They may not believe you immediately. Words that contradict years of experience need time. Do not force trust. Continue showing up. When you make an error, speak kindly. When the body is tired, allow rest. When you do not know something, permit learning. Each experience becomes evidence that love no longer disappears when perfection does. The next words are, "Your feelings do not frighten me." Perhaps you were told to stop crying, calm down, toughen up, or go away until you could be pleasant. You may have learned that sadness made you inconvenient, anger made you bad, and fear made you weak. So you hid feelings to preserve connection. But hidden emotion does not always vanish. It may become tension, numbness, sudden reactions, or difficulty knowing what you need. As an adult, you may smile while hurt, agree while angry, and say, "I am fine," while some part inside is desperately asking to be noticed. Tell the child, "You are allowed to feel sad. You are allowed to feel angry. You are allowed to be afraid. I will help you express these feelings safely." Safe expression matters. Permission to feel is not permission to harm. Anger may be written, spoken honestly, moved through the body, or used to recognize a necessary limit. It does not need to become cruelty. Sadness may need tears, rest, companionship, or grief. Fear may need information, protection, reassurance, or a smaller next step. Say, "I can stay while you feel this. You do not have to hide it to protect me." Then, breathe. Sometimes the most healing experience is discovering that an emotion can rise and fall while love remains present. The next words are, "I believe in you." Pain can be deepened when the original experience is followed by disbelief. Perhaps you told someone that you were hurt, frightened, bullied, touched inappropriately, or treated unfairly, and they dismissed you. Perhaps they said you were too sensitive, dramatic, confused, or responsible for what happened. You learned not only that pain could occur, but that your perception could not be trusted. Today, tell the younger you, "I believe your experience. You do not need to keep proving that you were hurt." Believing the emotional reality of your younger self does not require you to reconstruct every detail of memory with absolute certainty. Human memory can be incomplete. You can say, "I believe that you felt unsafe. I believe that something affected you deeply. I will take your feelings seriously while seeking truth and support with care." You do not need to put the child on a witness stand inside your mind. They are not asking to win a case. They are asking not to be abandoned again. If an experience involves serious abuse or trauma, you may benefit from working with a qualified professional who can help you approach it safely. Believing yourself includes recognizing when the burden deserves skilled support. The next words are, "You have the right to say no." A child whose boundaries were ignored may become an adult who does not trust their right to refuse. Perhaps your body, privacy, possessions, time, or preferences were treated as belonging to adults. You were expected to offer affection, accept teasing, keep secrets, obey without question, or remain polite even when uncomfortable. You may now say yes automatically and discover your true answer only after resentment appears. You may explain a no for so long that it becomes another invitation to pressure you. Tell the child, your body and your voice belong to you. You may move away from what feels unsafe. You do not have to agree merely to remain loved. The adult, you can now examine circumstances, communicate respectfully, and take appropriate protective action. Not every uncomfortable feeling means danger, but every signal deserves consideration. You can slow down, gather information, seek help, and decide what access is appropriate. Practice a simple sentence, "No, that does not work for me." Let the child hear that the world does not end when you speak it. Someone may become disappointed. Disappointment is not the same as abandonment, and another person's displeasure is not always an emergency. The next words may be the most important. I will not abandon you in order to keep someone else. This is not a promise that nobody will hurt you again. You cannot control every person. It is a promise about what you will do when pain occurs. You will not immediately decide that the hurt proves you are unworthy. You will not silence your own signals to protect another person's image. You will not repeatedly sacrifice the younger part of you to preserve a relationship that requires self-betrayal. Say, I cannot control everyone, but I will listen when you tell me something feels wrong. I will seek support. I will remove us from what is harmful when I can do so safely. I will not sacrifice you to keep someone who continually injures us. This promise must be made thoughtfully. Sometimes leaving a harmful situation requires preparation, financial support, legal advice, or a safety plan. Protecting the inner child does not always mean making an impulsive exit. It means taking the risk seriously and using adult resources wisely. The child does not need you to be all-powerful. They need to know you will pay attention and act rather than telling them to tolerate the intolerable for the sake of being chosen. The next words are, you are allowed to have joy. Some children had to grow up too early. They monitored adults, cared for siblings, managed conflict, achieved constantly, or remained alert to changing moods. Responsibility became their identity. Play seemed unimportant or unsafe. As an adult, you may know how to work, solve, plan, and endure, but not how to enjoy anything without turning it into a goal. Even rest becomes a project. You select a hobby and immediately wonder whether you could monetize it. The inner child quietly asks, can we please do something that does not have to become useful? Tell them, you do not have to wait until every problem is solved before you experience joy. You may play, laugh, create, and enjoy being alive. Joy does not mean ignoring responsibility. It reminds the body that life is more than responsibility. 10 minutes of drawing, dancing, music, walking, or silliness can restore something that productivity cannot provide. Do not judge the activity by what it produces. Its value may be the experience itself. These words are powerful, but words alone are not enough. Inner child work does not end with a moving visualization followed by a return to the same patterns. The younger part learns to trust you when your promises become experiences. If you say, I will protect you, but continue remaining in places where you are repeatedly humiliated, the child still feels unsafe. If you say, your needs matter, but continually ignore sleep, hunger, pain, and health, the promise remains incomplete. If you say, you may have joy, but turn every period of rest into guilt, the child continues waiting. Choose one loving sentence and give it one piece of evidence. I listen to you can become writing down what you feel before explaining it away. I protect you can become ending a conversation that has become disrespectful. I care for you can become eating, resting, making a health appointment, or requesting assistance at the appropriate time. You may have joy can become returning to an activity you loved before everything had to be productive. You do not have to be perfect can become finishing a task at a good and useful level instead of hiding it forever. You have a voice can become expressing one need clearly without apologizing for having it. The child within me does not need another adult who speaks beautifully and then disappears. That child needs me to become dependable. Do not promise what you cannot keep. Instead of saying, I will never let anything hurt you again, say, when hurt occurs, I will listen and seek the wisest response. Instead of I will always know what to do, say, when I do not know, I will ask for help. Trust is created by honest promises, not impossible ones. Bring this younger part into present life, but do not place them in charge of every decision. Healing does not mean that every childhood fear becomes an authority. The child has the right to speak. The adult has the responsibility to choose. The child may say, I am afraid they will reject us. The adult answers, I understand, and we can still tell the truth respectfully. The child may say, send another message so they will not leave. The adult says, I know waiting feels frightening, but we will not chase someone to purchase temporary safety. The child may whisper, do not try. If we fail, people may laugh. The adult replies, failure is no longer the same threat it felt like then. We can learn, repair, and try again. The child brings emotion, desire, memory, creativity, and need. The adult brings perspective, discernment, boundaries, resources, and protection. Neither part must disappear. They become integrated. You are not trying to upgrade the inner child into a more productive version. You are bringing them out of isolation and giving them a secure place within adult life. They may sit beside you, but they do not have to hold the steering wheel. Say, I hear your fear. You do not have to drive this life alone anymore. Sit beside me. I will take us forward with love and wisdom. If you would like a gentle way to continue, practice one experience each day for 7 days. You do not need to repeat a long visualization daily. Each day, give the younger part one thing that may have been missing. On the first day, offer the experience of being seen. Find an old photograph or imagine your younger face. Look into the eyes and say, I see you. Then notice one feeling in your present life that you have been minimizing. Give it a name without trying to change it. On the second day, offer the experience of being believed. Write about one event or emotional truth that was dismissed. You do not have to produce a perfect history. Write, this is what I remember. This is how it felt. This is what I needed. Let your experience exist without cross-examination. On the third day, offer protection. Choose one concrete limit. Decline a request beyond your capacity. Stop answering a conversation that has become insulting. Move a task away from a time you need for rest. Let protection become visible. On the fourth day, offer expression. Allow tears if they come. Write without editing. Draw without evaluating. Move the body. Sing or tell a trusted person something true. The goal is not performance. It is allowing an inner experience to have a safe form. On the fifth day, offer play. Choose something without a productivity outcome. Color. Make something with your hands. Listen to childhood music. Watch something that once delighted you, or walk somewhere simply because you are curious. If a voice says, "This is a waste of time," smile and answer. Today, enjoyment is the purpose. On the sixth day, offer choice. Ask what you genuinely want in one small matter. Which food, clothing, route, activity, or pace feels right? You are teaching the younger part that preference is not selfishness and that their voice can participate in everyday life. On the seventh day, offer belonging. Place your hand over your heart and say, "You always have a place within me." You no longer have to earn your place by becoming convenient. You belong because you are part of me. Do not demand a dramatic change after 7 days. The purpose is not to complete healing on a schedule. Trust develops as you return with consistency. A child who has known disappointment may watch carefully before believing your promises. Let that be all right. You are not in a hurry to force closeness. You are learning to remain. Some days the practice may feel warm. Other days you may feel nothing. Numbness can also be a protective response. Say, "You do not have to feel anything for me today. I will still be kind." This may be one of the most healing messages of all. Love is not withdrawn because the response is not what you hoped for. You may never hear the needed words from the person you wanted to hear them from. This deserves grief. Do not pretend that giving the words to yourself makes the original absence unimportant. You were worthy of receiving love, protection, belief, and comfort then. It is painful that you did not receive enough, but those words are no longer completely beyond your reach. You can become the voice that does not condemn, the hands that provide care, and the adult who does not disappear when feelings become inconvenient. You are not erasing the child you were. You are bringing that child home. When a trigger appears, you can say, "This is an old fear visiting a present moment. I see you." When shame rises, say, "You do not have to become perfect to stay with me." When you are tempted to abandon your needs to preserve another person's approval, say, "I will not trade you for acceptance." Each of these moments rewrites the relationship, not the historical event, but what happens within you now. The past remains part of your story, but it no longer has to remain the only author. Place both hands over your heart if that feels comforting. Imagine the younger you standing close enough to hear. Speak slowly, "My beloved child, I see you and I believe you. What happened was not your fault. You did not cause the limitations of the adults around you, and you were never responsible for healing them. You do not have to become perfect, silent, useful, or pleasing in order to receive my love. Your feelings are welcome. Your voice has value. Your body belongs to you. You have the right to say no, ask for help, tell the truth, rest, play, learn, and make mistakes. You do not have to prove that your pain was real. I will listen. I cannot promise that nobody will ever hurt us. I promise that I will not turn against you when hurt occurs. I will pay attention to your signals, seek wise support, and protect us through the choices available to me. I will not abandon you to keep someone else. The past is over. We are here now. I am the adult, and you no longer have to carry adult responsibilities. You may sit beside me. You may bring your feelings, your imagination, your tenderness, and your joy. I will bring discernment, protection, and direction. You always have a home within me. I love you. I am learning to keep my promises to you. We are safe enough to learn a new way of living, one day at a time. I will return. I will listen. I will not leave you alone again. All is well. You are love. You may have forgotten this for a while, but love is not something that exists only in the hands of another person. It is not a prize the world gives you after you become attractive enough, successful enough, quiet enough, or easy enough to keep. Love is already present in the way your heart continues beating, in the breath that keeps returning, and in the quiet intelligence of the body that supports you even on the days when you do not know how to support yourself. Perhaps you have spent many years waiting for someone to love you correctly. You wanted them to listen without dismissing you, reassure you when you were afraid, recognize what you had endured, and remind you that your pain did not make you unworthy. These are beautiful things to receive. We all need kindness, affection, and human connection. But when your peace depends completely upon another person giving you these things, you begin living in a state of waiting. You wait for the message, the apology, the recognition, or the right relationship. You tell yourself that when it arrives, you will finally relax. Until then, your own life remains outside the door, wondering when you will let it in. Healing love is not something you must wrestle from the world. It begins with the way you choose to be present with your body, your thoughts, and your feelings today. Place a hand over your heart for a moment. Feel what is happening beneath your palm. Your heart did not stop working because you criticized it. Your lungs did not refuse the next breath because you made a mistake. The body has continued accompanying you through every season, even when you spoke to it as though it were your enemy. Say gently, I allow the love from my own heart to wash through me and cleanse and heal every part of my body and my emotions. The most important word in this affirmation is not heal, it is allow. You do not have to manufacture love. You are learning to stop blocking it with constant judgment, resistance, and hostility toward yourself. Love does not force its way through a closed door. It waits patiently for your willingness. And sometimes willingness begins with a very small opening. I am willing to stop attacking myself today. I do not force healing. I create an inner environment in which healing is welcome. Love begins changing your inner environment by sending the body a new message. You may soften now. When fear, anger, or watchfulness continues for a long time, the body may remain tense. The breath becomes short. The shoulders lift. The jaw tightens. Sleep becomes difficult because some part of you believes it must remain on duty. A gentle voice, a slower breath, safe connection, supportive touch, and appropriate care can help the body move toward greater ease. This does not mean that love is a magical medicine or that every illness is created by thought. Bodies are influenced by biology, genetics, environment, injury, infection, access to care, and many other realities. Illness is not a moral failure, and loving thoughts should never replace necessary medical support. But the way you treat yourself still matters. Fear, shame, and self-blame can add another layer of suffering to an already difficult experience. Love can remove some of that unnecessary burden. It can help you rest, ask for assistance, follow treatment, and listen sooner when the body needs attention. You cannot spend the entire day calling the body ugly, weak, or disappointing and then expect it to feel held by you. Begin changing the conversation. Instead of asking, "Why is my body doing this to me?" try asking, "Dear body, what are you trying to communicate, and how can I support you?" The answer may be simple: sleep, movement, nourishment, medical attention, a slower pace, or less pressure. You may not always like the answer, but listening changes the relationship. The body is not an opponent to conquer. It is a living companion requiring care, information, and cooperation. Dear body, I am willing to listen before I judge. We are on the same side. Love also gives emotions permission to exist without giving them the authority to control your life. Emotions that are denied do not always disappear. They may return as repeated thoughts, sudden reactions, or tension that seems to have no name. When you insist, "I must not feel this," you add a second struggle to the original feeling. Love does not dissolve emotion by pretending everything is wonderful. It creates enough inner safety for you to tell the truth. You can say, "I am angry," without declaring, "I am an angry person." You can experience sorrow without deciding that your entire future is hopeless. You can feel fear without treating every fearful prediction as fact. Name what is present. Anger is here. Sadness is here. Jealousy is here. Shame is here. Notice how different this feels from turning the emotion into your identity. It is visiting you, but it is not the whole of you. Then ask what the feeling may be carrying. Anger may be pointing toward unfairness or a limit that was crossed. Sadness may be saying goodbye to a person, dream, role, or version of life that has ended. Jealousy may reveal a desire you have been ashamed to admit. Guilt may invite an apology or repair. Shame may need compassion and the reminder that a painful behavior is not the complete definition of a human being. You listen, and then you choose. Love does not permit emotion to destroy you or someone else. Anger may speak, but it does not get to choose cruel words. Fear may warn you, but it does not make every decision. Sadness may ask for rest, but it does not write the rest of your story. Every feeling is allowed to speak. No feeling is allowed to decide my worth. Love also changes what you repeatedly tell the mind. The mind learns familiarity. If you say, "I am not good enough" every day, the sentence begins to feel true simply because it has become well rehearsed. But a familiar thought is not necessarily an accurate thought. It may only be an old sentence that has been given too many opportunities to speak. You do not have to believe everything your mind announces. You can hear a thought and choose another one. When the mind says, "I am useless," answer, "I am learning, and I am allowed to improve." When it says, "No one loves me," say, "I am open to healthy love," beginning with the way I treat myself. When it says, "I am broken," reply, "A part of me is hurting, but the whole of me remains worthy and alive." These new words do not deny reality. They refuse to use absolute language to transform one difficulty into a permanent identity. You may have failed at something without being a failure. You may feel lonely without being unlovable. You may be wounded without being ruined. Thoughts can be changed, not always in one grand moment, and not by shouting over pain. They change through repeated, loving correction. That is the old thought. I am willing to choose a kinder one now. As your inner language softens, the body may feel less attacked. As emotions are heard, they no longer need to shout quite so loudly. As the body receives care, the mind gains more space. Love begins moving through the whole inner system, not as force, but as permission. Yet this leads us to a deeper question. If love has always lived within you, why did it become so difficult to feel? Where did you first learn to close yourself to it? And more importantly, where is the love within you truly born? So where is the love within you born? It is born first through acceptance. Acceptance is the moment you stop postponing tenderness until you have become a more acceptable version of yourself. It says, "This is where I am today." It does not say that you must remain here forever. It simply tells the truth about the place from which your next step must begin. Many people are afraid that acceptance will make them passive. They believe that if they accept the body, they will stop caring for it. If they accept a mistake, they will never correct it. If they accept an emotion, it will take over. But rejection has not necessarily helped you change. You may have criticized the same body, repeated the same mistake, and fought the same feelings for years. Perhaps the missing ingredient is not more hostility. Perhaps it is enough safety to look honestly. You can accept the body you have today and still seek better health. You can accept that you made an unwise decision and still repair its consequences. You can accept the presence of anger without using it to wound anyone. Acceptance removes the need to hide the starting point. When you know where you are, you can choose where to go. Conditional love says, "When you improve, I will stop being cruel to you." Healing love says, "I love you while we are learning a better way." Imagine teaching a child to walk by withdrawing affection each time they fall. The child would not learn more freely. They would become frightened of trying. Yet this is how many adults attempt to change themselves. They offer love only after success and punishment during the entire process of learning. Acceptance creates another environment. Yes, this is difficult. Yes, something needs attention. And no, I will not use this difficulty as a reason to abandon myself. From this place, correction becomes an act of care rather than revenge against yourself. I accept where I am without making it the limit of where I may go. Love is also born through gratitude, the willingness to notice how life is still serving you, even during an imperfect season. Place your attention for a moment on the heart. It has beaten through joy, sorrow, sleep, confusion, and all the ordinary hours you have forgotten. You did not need to remind it every minute. It continued. Thank your eyes for whatever they are able to see. Thank your ears for the sounds they receive. Thank your hands for all they have held, prepared, repaired, written, cleaned, and offered. Thank your legs for every journey they have supported, even if their movement is limited today. If a part of the body is painful, do not force gratitude for the pain. You do not have to pretend that suffering is a gift. Thank the part for what it is still attempting to do, and respond with the care it needs. You may say, I know you are struggling. I am willing to listen. I will seek the support available to us. Gratitude does not make difficulty disappear. It expands the picture so that difficulty is no longer the only thing visible. You can be concerned about one area of health and grateful for another part that is functioning. You can feel uncertain about the future and appreciate the person helping you today. Both realities may be present. When you appreciate the body, supportive choices become less like punishment. Nourishment says, thank you. Rest says, thank you. Appropriate movement, treatment, and assistance say, I value the life moving through me. Gratitude also helps you recognize support that anxiety may overlook. Fear is trained to search for what could go wrong. Gratitude asks, what is helping me now? It may reveal a resource, a kind person, a useful skill, an available hour, or a choice that remains yours. I appreciate the life that continues to move within and around me. I allow gratitude to widen what I can see. Love is also born through understanding. Many behaviors that now cause shame may once have developed as attempts to protect you. Perhaps you learned to please everyone because disapproval once felt like abandonment. You began anticipating the needs of others before checking your own because being useful helped you feel secure. Perhaps you try to control every detail because you once lived with unpredictability. If you could plan enough, observe enough, and prepare for every possibility, you hoped nothing painful would surprise you again. Or perhaps you closed your heart because you once opened it to someone who did not know how to treat tenderness with care. Understanding this history does not make every behavior healthy. People-pleasing can lead you to dishonesty and resentment. Control can exhaust you and everyone nearby. Emotional withdrawal can keep genuine love outside, but hatred is not required for change. You can look at the protective part and say, I understand why you learned this. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. We have more choices now. This approach changes the question from, why am I like this, spoken with disgust, to, what was this pattern trying to do for me? Once you understand its purpose, you can offer it a new job. The part that pleased others can become compassion with boundaries. The part that controlled everything can become thoughtful preparation. The part that closed the heart can become discernment about where trust belongs. I do not have to hate an old protection in order to teach it a healthier way. Understanding may also help you see the limitations of those who hurt you. They may have carried fear, shame, ignorance, addiction, emotional immaturity, or unhealed wounds of their own. This can explain why they behaved as they did. It does not make the behavior right. Compassion never requires you to deny what happened. It does not require returning to a dangerous place, restoring access to someone who remains harmful, or pretending that disrespect was love. You may understand someone and still choose distance. You may release hatred and still retain the lesson. Freedom begins when the pain is no longer used as your identity. You may say, this happened to me, it affected me, I am caring for what it wounded, and it is not the complete story of who I am. You are not required to hurry forgiveness. Begin with honesty. I see their limitations, and I honor my experience. I am willing to stop carrying their behavior as evidence that I am unworthy. Now let us bring acceptance, gratitude, and understanding into the body through a 7-minute practice. You may sit or lie down in a position that feels supportive. Place one hand over the heart and the other over the abdomen. If touching these areas is uncomfortable, rest your hands wherever they feel safe. Let the eyes close, or keep them gently open. There is nowhere special you have to reach. You are not trying to produce a vision, emotion, or physical change. You are simply offering the body 7 minutes in which it does not have to defend itself from you. Take a slow breath. Feel the body rise slightly beneath your hands. Let the exhalation leave without forcing it. Say inwardly, I am here. Begin at the heart. Imagine a gentle warmth within the chest. If you cannot see a color or image, that is perfectly all right. Think instead of the kindness you would offer a frightened child. You would not demand that the child explain everything. You would not say, stop feeling this immediately. You would create a sense of presence. Offer that same presence to yourself. Say, my heart is a source of love. It is safe for me to give this love to myself. Remain for a few breaths. You are not asking the heart to produce a dramatic feeling. You are giving it permission to be soft. Perhaps you feel warmth. Perhaps you feel sadness. Perhaps you feel nothing. Love is still present in the willingness to remain. Now bring awareness to the face and head. Notice the forehead. Let the area around the eyes soften. Release the jaw slightly. Allow the tongue to rest. Think of how much energy the mind has spent planning, predicting, reviewing, and trying to correct you. It may believe that if it stops working for one moment, your entire life will fall apart. Speak to it as you would speak to a devoted helper who has forgotten how to rest. Dear mind, you do not have to solve my entire life in this moment. I allow you to be quiet now. If thoughts continue, let them pass. Quiet does not require a blank mind. Quiet means you no longer chase every thought down the hallway. There is a thought, and now there is a breath. Bring attention to the neck and shoulders. Notice whether they are carrying effort. Perhaps the shoulders hold family expectations, another person's emotions, the need to prove yourself, or the fear of disappointing everyone. You may have accepted responsibilities that were never truly yours. You cannot make every person happy. You cannot prevent all conflict. You cannot heal someone who refuses to participate in their own healing. You cannot control the story every person tells about you. As you exhale, imagine setting down one burden. Say, I release the responsibility to please everyone. I carry only what truly belongs to me. What belongs to you? Your choices, your words, your commitments, your repair, and your care. What does not belong to you? Another adult's entire emotional life, their refusal to change, and the consequences of choices you did not make. Let the shoulders lower by one small degree. You do not need to release everything today. A little less weight is still less weight. Now bring awareness to the chest and abdomen. This is where feelings may announce themselves without words. Perhaps there is heaviness, fluttering, tightness, emptiness, or warmth. Do not rush to interpret it. If sadness, fear, anger, or another feeling is present, greet it. I see you. You are allowed to be here. I will listen without allowing you to harm me or anyone else. Then ask gently, what do you need me to know? Do not force an answer. It may come as a sentence, a memory, an image, or a simple realization. I am tired. I need to say no. I miss someone. I am afraid of failing. I need help. If no answer comes, offer presence rather than interrogation. You do not have to speak yet. I am still here. Love listens to emotion, but it does not surrender the whole life to emotion. You may hear anger and choose a respectful boundary. You may hear fear and still take a thoughtful step. You may hear sadness and give yourself time to grieve. Now bring awareness to the hands. Look at them if your eyes are open, or feel their weight. These hands have held people, objects, work, hope, and pain. They have helped, protected, built, and cared. They may also have participated in choices you now regret. Do not use the hands as evidence against yourself. Let them represent the ability to repair. Say, I made choices from the understanding available to me then. Now that I know more, I choose differently. This statement does not excuse harm. It turns regret toward responsibility. The hands that made a mistake can also write an apology, return what was taken, create a new plan, or offer care. You are not frozen in the moment before you understood. Gently open the palms. Let them symbolize willingness. Willingness to release punishment, receive help, and create again. Now bring awareness to the legs and feet. Feel their contact with the surface beneath you. You do not need to know the whole road. Life rarely reveals every turn before you begin. You need only become willing to take the next healthy step. Say, life supports me. I move forward with love and trust. Perhaps your next step is action. Perhaps it is rest. Perhaps it is asking a question, making an appointment, ending a harmful pattern, or beginning something small. Forward movement is not always visible from the outside. Sometimes it is the inner decision not to return to the old way. Finally, return to the heart. Imagine the gentle warmth moving from the chest toward the face, shoulders, abdomen, hands, legs, and feet. Do not demand that the body change. You are not scanning for defects or commanding cells to obey. You are offering each part the same message. You are loved. You are heard. You do not have to struggle alone anymore. Let the breath move naturally. Thank yourself for staying. Then open your eyes when you are ready. The practice does not end when the 7 minutes are complete. Love must become the way you live. If you offer the body tenderness during meditation and then skip meals, work until collapse, ignore symptoms, or return to an environment that repeatedly harms you, love remains only a lovely idea. Ask throughout the day, if I truly loved myself in this situation, what would I choose? Love for the body may look like rest, nourishment, appropriate movement, or qualified medical care. It may mean refusing to treat pain as an inconvenience that must be hidden. Love for the mind may mean reducing the amount of news, commentary, and conflict you consume. The mind cannot remain peaceful when it is fed constant alarm and then criticized for feeling anxious. Love for emotion may mean telling the truth instead of smiling to hide hurt. It may mean saying, that affected me, or I need time, rather than storing the feeling until it appears somewhere else. Love for the past may mean changing how you tell the story. You do not deny what happened, but you stop ending every retelling at the moment of helplessness. Include what you learned, how you survived, what you now recognize, and what you will no longer permit. Love in relationships may mean no longer giving deep access to someone who repeatedly handles you carelessly. Love does not require hatred when you leave. It requires enough respect for life to stop volunteering for the same wound. Love for the future may mean completing today's necessary action before waiting for motivation. You create the appointment, study the skill, save the money, make the call, or begin the work. Future love is present responsibility. Love becomes trustworthy when it enters my calendar, my choices, my relationships, and the way I care for my body. Please do not use love as another demand that you must always feel happy. There will be days when sadness remains after the practice. Some wounds need time, support, repetition, and patience. This does not mean that you failed or that your vibration is too low. You did not cause every illness, loss, accident, or harmful act committed by another person through your thoughts. True love never blames someone for being in pain. It asks, what could support you now? Sometimes healing feels like relief. Sometimes it feels like finally allowing the tears. Sometimes it is calling a physician, therapist, support service, or trusted friend. Love does not replace needed care. Love reminds you that you are worthy of receiving it. You do not have to heal according to another person's timetable. You do not have to make your process attractive or inspiring. You are allowed to have quiet seasons, complicated feelings, and days when progress means not abandoning yourself. Say, I do not have to heal according to someone else's schedule. I allow my process to unfold with patience, honesty, and respect. You do not need to open your entire heart in one day. Begin by no longer closing it against yourself. Each kind sentence, each time you listen to the body, each emotion you acknowledge, and each self-respecting choice allows love to enter a place that was once neglected. As resistance softens, you gain more peace for healing, more clarity for decision-making, and more strength to receive support. You become less dependent upon someone else arriving to give you the love you have refused to offer yourself. Become the love you once waited for. Become the voice that says, I believe you. Become the presence that does not leave when you are imperfect. Become the hands that provide care and the wisdom that knows when outside help is needed. Place a hand over your heart once more and say, I allow the love within me to move gently through my body, mind, and emotions. I accept myself while I grow. I appreciate the life that continues to support me. I understand my old protections, and I teach them a new way. I listen to my feelings without making them my identity. I care for my body without blame. I release what is not mine to carry, and I take the next loving step. I am becoming the love I once waited to receive. I am held within my own heart, and I am willing to heal. Before we close, my dear, I want to thank you for allowing these words to enter your heart. Perhaps today you felt relief. Perhaps you felt resistance, sadness, or even nothing at all. Whatever arose is welcome. You do not have to create a perfect healing experience. Your willingness to remain present with yourself is already a beautiful beginning. Please remember that love is not somewhere outside you, waiting for another person to deliver it. Love is present each time you listen to your body, speak gently to your mind, honor an emotion, ask for help, or choose not to abandon yourself. These small moments may seem ordinary, yet this is how a new inner life is formed. As you continue with your day, may your body feel supported rather than judged. May your mind release the thoughts it no longer needs to repeat. May your emotions be heard without becoming the rulers of your life. May you recognize the difference between what belongs to you and what you are free to put down. I bless the child within you who waited so long to feel safe. I bless the adult you are now becoming, the one who listens, protects, nourishes, and remains. I bless your healing, not with pressure or a deadline, but with patience. May the right support reach you. May loving relationships recognize you. May every choice you make lead you closer to peace, truth, and wholeness. Place your hand over your heart and say with me, I am loved. I am supported. I am safe to feel, safe to receive, and safe to heal. The love within me gently touches every part of my life. I trust my process. I honor my body. I welcome peace. All is well. Thank you, dear one. Go gently. Love is walking with you now. I see so many people struggling with this, and I want to talk about it with you today. The need to explain yourself until you are exhausted. Perhaps you have said no to a request and then spent the next 10 minutes proving that you had a good enough reason. Perhaps you changed direction in your life and felt compelled to convince everyone that you were not making a mistake. You set a boundary, but then weakened it with apologies, details, and promises to compensate for having a need. Before long, a simple decision becomes a legal defense, and an ordinary conversation begins to feel like a courtroom. My dear one, your life is not a trial, and every person you meet is not a member of the jury. You may listen to advice. You may consider another point of view. You may change your mind when new information appears. But you do not need unanimous approval before you are permitted to make a thoughtful decision about your own life. I can listen to the opinions of others without giving them authority to approve my life. There is nothing wrong with explaining yourself when information is genuinely needed. A healthy explanation can prevent confusion, show responsibility, or help someone you love understand an important change. If your decision affects another person's time, money, work, or well-being, clear communication may be part of your responsibility. And if you have hurt someone, I do not owe anyone an explanation, should never become a hiding place from accountability. Repair requires honesty. The difficulty begins when explanation is no longer about information. It becomes an application for permission. You have already answered the question, yet you keep talking because the other person has not smiled. You add personal details because their disappointment makes you anxious. You begin defending needs that never required a defense. Then you leave the conversation feeling as though you have been searched, examined, and found guilty of living your own life. Notice 3 signs. First, you continue speaking after your answer is complete. Second, you offer more information only because the other person looks displeased. Third, you leave feeling ashamed, depleted, or strangely separated from yourself. When this happens, pause and ask, am I helping this person understand, or am I trying to purchase their approval? Approval is very expensive when you pay for it with self-abandonment. Beneath over-explaining, there is often a fear of being misunderstood. You may believe that if someone forms an inaccurate opinion of you, your reputation, goodness, or worth will somehow be damaged. So you work desperately to correct the picture in their mind. Yet you cannot fully control the story another person chooses to believe. Some people misunderstand because they lack information. Clarity may help them. Others misunderstand because they have already chosen a conclusion and have no sincere desire to revise it. More information will not necessarily create more understanding. It may only give them additional material to question. Learn to recognize the difference. Confusion accompanied by goodwill can be met with explanation. Judgment without curiosity usually requires a limit. You might say, "I am happy to clarify, but I am not willing to defend my character repeatedly." That is not unkind. It is an honest description of what you will participate in. Sometimes this pattern began in childhood. Perhaps you were often doubted, blamed before being heard, or loved most visibly when you were pleasing and obedient. You may have learned that safety depended upon presenting a convincing case. If the adults understood your intention, perhaps punishment could be avoided. If you found the perfect words, perhaps affection would return. The child within you may still believe that another person's disapproval is dangerous. A raised eyebrow, a disappointed tone, or a brief silence can make your body rush into explanation before your adult mind has decided what to say. This is why over-explaining is not merely a communication habit. It may be an old attempt to stay safe. Place a hand over your heart and gently remind yourself, "I am no longer the child who must persuade everyone in order to be safe. I am an adult, and I have the right to make responsible choices." Do not criticize the younger part of you for having learned this pattern. It was trying to protect you with the tools it had. Thank it, and then let the adult within you take over. You can survive another person's disappointment. You can tolerate being misunderstood. You can remain loving without surrendering your decision. Over-explaining can also reveal that you do not yet trust yourself. When you are uncertain, agreement from others temporarily reduces anxiety. You ask 5 people what you should do, hoping their answers will make you feel safe. But when those answers conflict, and they often do, the voice within you becomes even harder to hear. Before announcing a personal decision, sit quietly and ask 3 questions. Does this choice agree with my values? Have I considered the likely consequences? Am I willing to accept responsibility for what I choose? If the answers are clear, you do not need to assemble an outside committee to vote on your life. Self-trust does not mean assuming you are always right. It means trusting yourself to observe, learn, repair, and change direction when necessary. You are not demanding perfect foresight. You are developing an honest relationship with your own judgment. I do not need certainty about every outcome. I trust myself to respond wisely as new information appears. There is another pattern you must learn to recognize: the argument that was never intended to create understanding. Some questions are not questions at all. They are attempts to wear down your boundary. You answer once, and another accusation appears. You clarify that accusation, and the subject suddenly changes. Your feelings are dismissed, your memory is challenged, and you are asked to produce more evidence for an experience you have already described. You may think, if only I find the perfect words, they will finally understand. But the conversation is not missing the perfect explanation. It is missing goodwill. When someone is committed to controlling the outcome, every answer you give may simply become material for the next challenge. You are allowed to stop. You can say, "I have answered this question." You can say, "You do not have to agree, but my decision remains the same." You can say, "This conversation is no longer respectful, so I am ending it now." Silence in such a moment is not weakness. You do not have to respond to every provocation. correct every accusation, or invite everyone into the private rooms of your mind. Silence can be the moment you stop feeding a conversation that has no honest destination. I do not use silence to punish. I use it when continuing would require me to betray my peace. Yet silence must also be used with maturity. Healthy silence comes after you have said what needs to be said. The other person is no longer listening. The exchange has become insulting, or further discussion would only deepen the harm. Avoidant silence is different. It hides needs you are afraid to express. It disappears in order to punish. It expects other people to guess what you feel. It postpones a necessary conversation because discomfort feels frightening. Peace does not come from never having difficult discussions. It comes from knowing which discussions are honest, which are repairable, and which have become invitations to abandon yourself. A simple practice can help. Be clear once, repeat once, and then stop. The first time, state the decision without unnecessary detail. I will not be able to attend. If pressure continues, repeat the message without adding another defense. I understand that you are disappointed, but I will not be attending. If the person continues to demand an explanation, close the exchange. I have answered you, and I am not discussing this further. Notice how calm this language is. It does not attack. It does not beg. It allows another person to have feelings without making those feelings the ruler of your decision. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. You may experience guilt after saying one clear sentence. The mind may whisper, "They think you are selfish." Go back and explain more. Breathe. Let the discomfort move through you without obeying it. Guilt does not always mean you have done something wrong. Sometimes it means you have stopped doing what kept everyone else comfortable. Today, practice letting one complete sentence remain complete. Do not decorate it with apologies. Do not fill every silence. Let the other person process what they have heard. Their reaction belongs to them. Your responsibility is to remain honest, respectful, and clear. I speak the truth with kindness. I explain what is necessary, take responsibility for what belongs to me, and release the need to make everyone agree. My decisions do not require a courtroom. My boundaries do not require a lengthy defense. I trust myself, I protect my peace, and I allow a clear answer to be enough. What would change in your life if you stopped believing that a boundary was something you used to push people away and began seeing it as information that teaches healthy people how to remain close to you? Many of us were never taught this. We were taught that love means always being available, that kindness means saying yes, and that a good person should be endlessly understanding. Then, when we finally become tired enough to say no, guilt arrives and tells us we have done something cruel. But a boundary is not cruelty, it is clarity. It does not close the heart. It protects the conditions in which the heart can remain open. A boundary does not say, "You must change." It does not say, "You are not allowed to feel disappointed," or "You have to agree with me." It says, "This is what I will participate in. This is what I will not participate in. And this is what I will do if an important limit is crossed." When you say, "If this conversation becomes insulting, I will end it," you are not controlling another person's mouth. You are choosing where your body will remain. When you say, "I do not answer work messages after this hour," You are not forbidding anyone from sending a message. You are deciding when your attention is available. When you say, "I will not lend that amount of money," you are not declaring the other person unworthy. You are deciding how you will manage your resources. When you say, "I do not share this subject," you are not being secretive. You are choosing which parts of your life are private. This distinction matters. Control tries to write another person's behavior. A boundary describes your response. Control says, "You must stop being angry." A boundary says, "You may be angry, but I will not stay while I am being shouted at." Control says, "You must call me every day." A boundary says, "If communication remains inconsistent, I will adjust how much I invest in this relationship." Control says, "You must understand my decision." A boundary says, "I have explained what is necessary and I will not continue defending it." A boundary does not tell another person who they must become. It reminds me of what I will choose. People who are capable of healthy connection usually benefit from clarity. They learn how to communicate with you when you are available, what you can reasonably offer, and what will interrupt closeness. They may not enjoy every boundary. They may feel disappointed, ask for clarification, or offer a compromise. A mature person does not have to like your answer in order to respect your right to give it. A person who has benefited from your lack of limits may react very differently. They may accuse you of changing, becoming selfish, or no longer caring. Do not assume that every strong reaction is proof that your boundary is wrong. Sometimes the reaction simply reveals how comfortable someone had become with your self-neglect. Perhaps you have changed. Perhaps you are no longer available at every hour. Perhaps you no longer lend what you cannot afford to lose, absorb every emotional crisis, or abandon your own plans whenever another person expresses disappointment. This is not necessarily a withdrawal of love. It may be the first time your love has included you. I include myself among the people whose time, feelings, health, and needs deserve respect. A boundary does not need a speech. You are allowed to say, "That does not work for me." You may say, "I cannot accept." You can say, "I have considered it, and my answer is no." You can say, "I am not discussing this subject further." Or, "I will respond when we are both calm." You might say, "I understand your point of view, but I have chosen differently." And sometimes the most loving sentence is simply, "Thank you for your concern. I will handle this myself." Short language can feel frightening when you have spent years explaining. You may worry that you sound harsh, but brevity and coldness are not the same thing. Coldness intends to punish or dismiss. Brevity intends to communicate without opening a decision to endless negotiation. Your tone can be warm while your meaning remains firm. Listen to the difference between "I am so sorry and I hope you are not upset and perhaps I can rearrange everything, but I am very tired and I have had such a difficult week. So, if it is not too inconvenient, I may not be able to come. And thank you for inviting me. I will not be able to come." The first sentence gives your decision away before you have finished speaking. The second respects both people. It communicates the answer without requiring the listener to approve your reason. You do not have to place your entire nervous system inside every no. When guilt appears, do not rush to erase your limit. Guilt is not always a moral message. Sometimes it is the emotional echo of an old role. If you have always been the rescuer, not rescuing can feel wrong. If you were taught to keep everyone happy, another person's disappointment may feel like danger. If your family praised you for being easy, quiet, and self-sacrificing, having needs can feel like disobedience even in adulthood. The body often interprets unfamiliarity as risk. A new behavior may produce discomfort simply because it is new. This is why one question can be so helpful. Have I done something wrong, or have I simply done something different? Examine the boundary with honesty. Did you communicate it respectfully? Does it protect your health, responsibilities, values, safety, or limited resources? Are you willing to accept the natural consequences? If so, the guilt may not require correction. It may require patience. Place a hand over your heart and say, I know this feels unfamiliar. We are not in danger because someone is disappointed. We are learning that love can survive an honest answer. Then let the discomfort pass without immediately offering more than you can sustain. Some people may withdraw when you establish limits. This can be painful. Yet it may also reveal that the relationship depended upon access rather than mutual care. A person who loves only the version of you who never says no is not yet loving your whole being. Healthy closeness makes room for two people, not one person and the other person's endless accommodation. I do not remove a healthy boundary merely to make temporary guilt disappear. There are times when a boundary means ending a conversation. You do not have to remain in every exchange until the other person gives you permission to leave. Stop when you have stated the same truth repeatedly and it continues to be deliberately distorted. Stop when the tone becomes insulting, threatening, or humiliating. Stop when the goal is no longer understanding but domination. Stop when you feel yourself losing the ability to speak from clarity. You can say, this conversation is no longer useful. I am stopping here. You do not need to announce a final verdict about the other person. You do not need to produce a dramatic closing statement that proves you have won. The purpose of leaving is not victory. It is preventing the conversation from turning you into someone you do not want to be. Walking away from an argument does not mean avoiding all disagreement. A healthy relationship is not one in which nobody becomes uncomfortable. It is one in which discomfort can be handled without destroying dignity. Two people may misunderstand each other, become defensive, and still return with accountability. They can apologize, clarify, and change their behavior. Before ending an important relationship, ask whether repair is possible. Is the other person capable of acknowledging impact, not only intention? Are both of you making changes? Or is one person doing all the emotional labor? Does respect return after conflict? Is there evidence of growth beyond repeated promises? Do not use walking away as a way to frighten another person into chasing you. Do not disappear in order to punish. Do not cut off every person who disagrees with you and call it peace. If you leave every time your self-image is challenged, you may protect yourself from growth as well as harm. Discernment asks whether the experience is difficult because honesty is required, or harmful because dignity is repeatedly violated. A workplace, friendship, family system, or partnership may no longer be healthy when you must continually reduce yourself to remain accepted. Reasonable limits are punished. Promises are repeated, but behavior does not change. You live in constant vigilance, confusion, or self-doubt. The cost of staying is increasingly paid through your health, self-respect, or safety. When these patterns are present, leaving may be an act of deep responsibility. But leaving can require planning, shared finances, children, housing, employment, immigration status, family responsibilities, or legal commitments may make departure complex. If violence, coercive control, stalking, threats, or other genuine danger exists, seek appropriate support. Do not rely on confrontation or affirmations alone. Safety may require trusted people, professional services, legal advice, secure communication, and a carefully timed plan. Strength is not always a sudden exit. Sometimes strength is preparing quietly until you can move safely. I do not leave to create fear. I leave when staying repeatedly requires me to abandon my dignity, health, or safety. You may leave a room and still carry the argument with you. The body is gone, but the mind remains seated at the table, presenting another defense. You imagine what you should have said. You respond to accusations that were never spoken. You finally produce the perfect sentence, and then imagine the other person finding another way to misunderstand it. Hours pass, and the conversation continues without anyone else being present. This inner trial can be more exhausting than the original exchange. You are playing every role: defendant, lawyer, witness, judge, and sometimes the person criticizing you. The mind believes that if it replays the event enough times, it will gain control over what happened. But repetition cannot change another person's willingness to understand. When you notice this, say, "I have said what needed to be said. I am not continuing this trial inside my mind." Then give the body evidence that the conversation has ended. Feel your feet making contact with the ground. Notice the movement of your breath without trying to improve it. Listen for 3 sounds: wash a cup, fold a towel, take a short walk, or return to the task in front of you. You may need to redirect yourself many times. Do it without irritation. Each return teaches the mind that your attention is no longer available for endless defense. Letting go of the argument does not mean admitting that the other person was right. It means their misunderstanding will not occupy another evening of your life. Before responding to a text message, personal question, criticism, or demand, use what I call the peace filter. It has 4 simple questions. First, does this person have a right to know? Some people genuinely need information. A partner may need clarity about a decision affecting shared finances. A colleague may need information required to complete work. Someone harmed by your behavior may deserve an honest explanation. But curiosity does not automatically create entitlement. A distant relative, acquaintance, colleague, or online stranger is not owed access to your private life merely because they asked. You do not need an elaborate excuse. "I prefer to keep that private," is a complete answer. Second, will my response serve a practical purpose? An explanation may help coordinate plans, repair harm, resolve confusion, or make an informed decision possible. In that case, speak. But if every answer becomes the beginning of another accusation, the exchange may no longer have a useful destination. Ask yourself, what will be different after I answer? If the realistic answer is nothing, they will only ask me to defend myself again. Silence may be the wiser response. Third, is this person capable of listening? Vulnerability should not be offered indiscriminately. Do not hand your softest truths to someone who has repeatedly turned private information into ridicule, gossip, control, or ammunition. You can remain honest without revealing everything. Privacy is not deception. It is discernment about where your inner life is safe. A person may have the right to receive the decision without having the right to receive every fear, memory, and private process that led to it. Fourth, am I calm enough to say what I actually mean? The pressure to respond immediately can make reaction feel like strength. Yet speed often gives the most frightened part of you the microphone. If your hands are shaking, your breathing is shallow, or your thoughts are racing toward attack and defense, pause. Say, I need time to think. I will return to this later. Then truly return if responsibility requires it. A pause should not become an excuse to avoid necessary communication. It is time used to separate the message from the emotional storm surrounding it. During that pause, resist the temptation to compose a very long message proving every point. Ask instead, what is the essential truth? What outcome am I seeking? What part belongs to me? Can I express it in 3 sentences? Often you will discover that clarity requires far fewer words than anxiety. I do not confuse a rapid reaction with strength. My power is present in the pause where I choose my response. Protecting your peace also involves your mental environment. It is not enough to leave one exhausting person if you allow dozens of other voices to occupy your mind from morning until night. Your attention has doors, and you are allowed to decide which ones remain open. Notice conversations that always become gossip. They may feel like connection in the moment, but you leave carrying judgments, tension, and information that was never yours to hold. Notice content that repeatedly produces comparison, rage, or helplessness without leading to useful action. Notice group chats where every message appears to demand an immediate response. Notice relationships that seek you only as a place to empty emotion but offer no curiosity about your inner world. And notice the habit of rereading painful messages. You may tell yourself you are searching for clarity, but sometimes you are only searching for one more reason to hurt. The words remain the same. The body experiences them again each time. Begin making quiet, practical changes. Turn off notifications that do not deserve instant access. Choose a limited time for news rather than carrying the entire world's alarm system in your pocket. Do not answer emotionally charged messages when your body is already exhausted. Leave one portion of the day free from other people's opinions. You do not have to announce each adjustment. You may mute a conversation, unfollow an account, leave a group, or place your telephone in another room. Peace is often restored through decisions so ordinary that nobody applauds them. Choose silence not because you fear life, but because you wish to hear yourself again. When every moment is filled with commentary, comparison, advice, criticism, and urgency, your inner voice becomes difficult to recognize. Silence creates the space in which your own perception can return. My attention is a precious asset. I choose where it belongs and what deserves to remain within it. This does not mean surrounding yourself only with people who agree with you. Peace is not intellectual isolation. A wise friend may challenge you. Useful information may make you uncomfortable. Growth sometimes arrives through a truth you would rather not hear. The question is not, does this disturb me? The question is, does this help me become clearer, wiser, or more responsible? Or does it merely keep me agitated and powerless? You can also care for someone without becoming an unlimited emotional resource. A friend may be passing through grief, fear, or crisis and needs support. Compassion is beautiful. But if every interaction becomes a one-way release and your limits are ignored, you may say, "I care about you, but I do not have the capacity for this conversation today." You are not rejecting the person. You are telling the truth about what you can give without causing harm to yourself. Now let us speak gently to the part of you that has become so tired from proving, explaining, and defending. Let these words enter slowly. I release the need to make everyone understand me. I have the right to make responsible decisions for my own life. I communicate clearly and briefly, and I do not apologize for legitimate needs. Another person's disagreement is not an emergency. I allow others to hold their opinions without making those opinions my identity. I am safe to end a conversation that has lost respect. I can love another person without giving them authority over my inner peace. I trust my wisdom, examine my choices honestly, and take responsibility for what belongs to me. These affirmations do not mean that you are always right. They do not mean refusing correction or denying the consequences of your behavior. They mean you will no longer confuse humility with self-erasure. You can admit a mistake without surrendering your dignity. You can listen without obeying. You can apologize without becoming a permanent defendant. You do not need to spend your life explaining why you changed, why you said no, why you ended something, or why you selected a path others would not choose. Communicate what is necessary. Honor your commitments. Repair the harm you have caused. Then let the way you live answer what another explanation cannot settle. Those who truly care for you may need time. They may not immediately understand your new limits. They may feel disappointed or surprised. But healthy love will not require you to betray yourself in order to restore another person's comfort. And someone determined to misunderstand you will not suddenly become receptive because you produce 100th explanation. Let your life become the answer. Let your consistency explain the decision. Let the peace in your body explain why the boundary was necessary. Let your increasing health, clarity, and integrity speak more loudly than an argument. You do not have to win every debate. Sometimes the deepest victory is leaving with your character intact. You do not have to correct every false opinion. Sometimes freedom is allowing someone to be wrong about you while you continue living honestly. You do not need the final word. You need to remain connected to yourself after the words are over. Take a slow breath. Release the tension from your jaw. Let your shoulders rest. Imagine placing all your unused explanations on the ground. You are not giving up love. You are giving up the impossible task of controlling how every person interprets your life. I no longer ask permission to be myself. I speak truth with love, maintain my boundaries with calmness, and leave what repeatedly dishonors the life within me. I explain what is necessary and release the rest. I do not need to win every argument. I need only refuse to lose myself. I choose peace, and I am free.